Apparently, he is not here. Okay, so Mr. Peter Rigas, followed by Ms. Terry Sommerfeld.
Okay.
Good evening, councilors. Mr. Peter Rigas. Congratulations to the new council that's here. I think the voters have spoken on the election, and I welcome everyone to be here to work with the residents. I have to say I'm a little disappointed, probably not the same way others are, because Councilor Brecknitz, as I recall, when you were elected in 2018, no one asked you to sit in council for a year or two to learn the rules. You just sought and got the chair back then. Then you went on to say how you touted your experience, the land development code here and all the rules. So I want to go through a couple of quick things that just came off the top of my head. You touted at city council here that somehow buses are not allowed on the island, which is of course not true. You said you read the land development code, and you said bus shelters are not allowed to be built, that you read the land development code, and you said it's not in there. And the city attorney said, no, that's not true either. You went on to say, and this is just the last few meetings, that a variance requires a hardship, and then the city attorney again told you that wasn't true. So while we certainly respect your leadership here in the past, I think the voters have selected 4 new councilors here, and it's a tradition that new leadership take over on a new election. That's just what's gone on here. Now, there's no rule for that. That's certainly been the precedent that I think honor the will of the voters to bring in new leadership and new ideas and not have somebody recite the land development code in a way that is really incorrect over the last number of meetings that I've attended here. So that was my sort of huge disappointment. And I think you talked earlier about the chair's role in bringing folks together and seeking some kind of consensus. And what I saw here tonight was I saw you being nominated, I saw Deb being nominated, I saw Bonita being nominated. But one thing I didn't see is seemingly your desperate attempt to cling to power. And there was no one else nominated on your side. Certainly Stephen Gray is entitled to be nominated for the role. He's the top vote getter. They ran on a slate. They got half the votes for the 4 new electors. Actually, they came in a little bit less than the other 2 candidates, Deb and Bonita, did. So, by rule, perhaps they have more votes for this. But what I'm seeing here is your inability and inflexibility to move from a role that you think you're entitled to as an 86-year-old white man. And I think 75% of the vote that came in was for 3 women, to be elected to council as a first for city of Marco Island. And I think it's time for some new leadership here, for some new ideas, that you're not entitled to this role, that you didn't have the expertise when you came here, that you're wrong about the land development code, and you don't have any right to that seat. You're certainly not even allowed to be in that seat based on the charter. It says that there will be a primary councilor elected at the meeting, even if there isn't a chair or vice chair. So your role is as a councilor, not as a vice chair. That role has expired. And unfortunately, there's some uncivilized folks in the back here heckling me, but that's to be expected. Anyway, thank you very much.
Next.